When most of us look at ancient history, especially religious texts, there's this, I don't know, this underlying assumption that we're looking at a dusty, static artifact.
Right, yeah, like a museum piece.
Exactly. We treat it like we're walking through a museum just staring at a marble statue behind thick glass. It feels safe. It feels entirely detached from the messy, volatile reality of the world we actually live in.
Oh, absolutely. It's incredibly common to view ancient history in a vacuum. We just strip away all the geopolitical tension and reduce these really high-stakes events to, well, simple moral fables.
Yeah. But then you start looking a little closer at the historical context, and suddenly that protective glass just shatters. You
Mhm.
realize you aren't looking at a peaceful marble statue at all.
No, not at all.
You are looking at a diffused bomb. You start seeing the tripwires, the political tension, the absolute life or death stakes hidden right there in plain sight. And today, we are going to unpack the tripwires of a specific document, Matthew chapter 19.
Which is just packed with them.
It really is. Now, right up front, as always, we are approaching this purely as a historical and political deep dive. I want to make it super clear to you listening, we aren't endorsing any religious left-wing or right-wing views today.
Right. We are strictly looking at the history.
Exactly. We are simply acting as your impartial guides to the historical source material. We want to understand the mechanics of the history, the actors, and the power struggles exactly as they unfolded in the text.
Because honestly, that is the only way to accurately analyze the geopolitical realities of that specific moment in time. We're looking at a masterclass in navigating a highly volatile, highly dangerous political landscape.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to truly understand the sheer drama of this moment, we can't just look at the words being spoken. We actually have to look at a map.
Yes, the map is everything here.
Right. So the history tracks Jesus making a major geographical transition. He's leaving his usual territory up in Galilee and crossing into a region called Perea. Now, to a modern listener, that sounds like, a simple road trip, just moving from one county to the next.
Right. But crossing that specific border changed the entire equation.
Oh, so.
Well, the geography is basically the key to this entire conflict. Perea, which is the region of Judea situated beyond the Jordan River, was under the direct control of Herod Antipas.
And we really need to define what that actually means, right? Because Herod wasn't a sovereign king.
No, not at all. He was a tetrarch. Essentially, he was like a middle manager for the Roman Empire.
A very stressed middle manager.
Exactly. His grip on power was super fragile, dependent entirely on keeping the peace, and, most importantly, collecting taxes for Rome. And making matters so much worse, Perea bordered Nabatist territory.
Which was a massive problem for Herod at that specific moment, wasn't it?
Oh, a catastrophic problem. I mean, Herod Antipas had recently divorced his wife, who just happened to be the daughter of the Nabatean king, Herodias IV.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So he just kicks the king's daughter to the curb.
Yeah, and he did this so he could unlawfully marry his own sister-in-law, Herodias. So by discarding the Nabatean princess, Herod essentially shredded a major regional peace treaty.
So the Nabatean king is furious.
Furious. That border was basically a militarized zone on the absolute brink of all-out war.
Wait, I have to push back here.
Sure.
Because if Herod is on the brink of a border war with the Nabateans, that region must be swarming with Roman military forces, right? Just looking to crush any instability.
Oh, absolutely. The Romans hated instability.
So if the Romans are hypervigilant, why would Jesus choose this exact moment to cross into Perea and draw massive, enthusiastic crowds for healing? Isn't that just begging for a Roman military crackdown?
That seems like it, yeah.
Like, why walk into a militarized zone and start a populist movement? That sounds suicidal.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
we see that this is precisely why his arrival sent absolute shockwaves through the local government. Because Jesus is intentionally operating the shadow of a very recent, very bloody political execution.
Right. John the Baptist.
Exactly. Herod Antipas is the exact same ruler who had just imprisoned and beheaded John the Baptist for doing the exact same thing, drawing massive crowds and preaching reform. Yeah, so by stepping into Perea and commanding these massive crowds, Jesus is stepping directly into John the Baptist's vacant shoes. The Roman authorities are terrified of a border rebellion, and Herod is terrified of a populist uprising rising from the ashes of the man he just executed.
So the atmosphere is incredibly tense. The swords are already drawn. Jesus is literally a walking, breathing political threat just by existing in that space.
Exactly. Just being there is a provocation.
But because he has this massive popular support, The authorities are caught in a bind, right? Moving against a popular healer with physical force could instantly trigger the exact riot the Romans are trying to avoid.
Right, which means a direct assault is completely off the table. They have to be much more strategic. They need to neutralize him without getting blood on their own hands.
They need to manufacture a situation where the government is forced to step in and eliminate the threat for them.
Yes.
And that brings us to a brilliantly designed, two-pronged, deadly trap. The local religious leaders, the Pharisees, approach Jesus right in front of these massive crowds.
Publicly. That's key.
Very publicly. And they ask him what sounds like a dry, everyday legal question. They ask, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for any and every reason?
Now, on the surface, that sounds like a modern reporter asking a politician for a legal opinion on a domestic issue.
Right, like a standard debate question.
Exactly. But let's look at the mechanics of the first layer of this trap, the theological trap. Because in the first century, there was a fierce, highly polarizing debate between two rival rabbinic schools.
The school of Rabbi Hillel and the school of Rabbi Shammai, right?
You got it.
And these two schools represented completely opposite ends of the cultural spectrum.
Completely. I mean, the school of Rabbi Hillel permitted divorce for incredibly trivial reasons. A man could literally divorce his wife for something as simple as ruining a meal.
Just burning dinner.
Just burning dinner, or even finding someone more attractive.
Jeez. We really need to pause and look at what that actually meant for a woman in the ancient world. Because when we say permitted divorce, we aren't talking about modern legal proceedings with, like, alimony and asset splitting.
No, not even close.
If a man divorced his wife under that Hillel interpretation because she burnt dinner, she lost her entire economic safety net.
That is the crucial context here. She would be sent back to her father's house in absolute disgrace, often without her dowry, meaning she'd be completely financially ruined and socially ostracized.
So it was a system that provided women with absolutely zero security.
Zero. None. Now, on the other hand, you had the school of Rabbi Shammai, which was strictly conservative. They limited lawful divorce solely to cases of adultery.
Okay, so the Pharisees are using this as a wedge issue. They are trying to force Jesus to pick a side in front of this huge crowd.
Exactly.
If he sides with Hillel, he alienates the religious conservatives and looks morally lax. But if he sides with Shammai, he alienates the masses of men who benefit from the more lenient patriarchal practices. It is a calculated move designed to fracture his following.
It's a total lose-lose scenario. But here is the thing. The theological debate is just a cover story.
Right.
It pales in comparison to the second layer of the trap.
The political assassination attempt?
Yes.
Because when you layer the geography back into this question, the true danger of the moment just clicks into place. They are standing in Perea, Herod's territory.
Right.
And the very thing Herod is most infamous for, the exact action that has the region on the brink of war, is his unlawful divorce of the Nabatean princess to marry Herodias.
And we really must remember the fate of the last populist leader who publicly criticized that specific marriage.
John the Baptist.
Yeah.
He publicly condemned Herod's divorce and remarriage, and Herod had him beheaded for it.
Right. So when the Pharisees asked Jesus about the lawfulness of divorce in Herod's own backyard, they aren't looking for a nice theological debate.
It's an ambush.
It's a total ambush. They're basically handing Jesus a microphone, pointing him at Herod's palace, and baiting him to insult the king.
It is a masterful piece of political theater. They are attempting an assassination by proxy.
Exactly.
Because Jesus answers yes or no. He either shatters his own public influence or he signs his own death warrant by committing treason against the state.
Yeah, the trap is sprung. So how do you survive a trap where the only two options lead to your destruction?
Well, you refuse the options entirely. You completely dismantle the premise of the trap and rewrite the rules of the engagement.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because Jesus completely bypasses the rabbinic debate. He doesn't align with Rabbi Hillel. He doesn't align with Rabbi Shammai.
Nope.
And he certainly doesn't take the bait to directly attack Herod's marriage. Instead, he goes over the heads of the current political and religious establishment entirely, appealing to something much older.
Right. He appeals to the foundational creation narrative in Genesis. He states that the Creator made them male and female, concluding with that famous mandate, what God has joined together, let no one separate.
So by reframing the issue around creation, he effectively neutralizes the trap. But, it's the cultural upheaval this causes that is so fascinating to me.
Oh, totally.
Jesus isn't just dodging a political snare here. He is actively dismantling the patriarchal legal loopholes that allowed men to discard women effortlessly.
Exactly. He fundamentally rejects the premise that women are just disposable property subject to the whims of male privilege.
Yeah.
By stating that the union is forged by God, he is elevating the sacredness of the marriage bond. And practically speaking, that translates to a radical defense of a woman's dignity and economic security in a society that offered her neither.
It's incredible. In the middle of an active assassination attempt, he manages to systematically defend the most vulnerable demographic in the room.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And looking at the broader historical record of this chapter, this elevation of women wasn't just a one-off debate tactic. It was actually the opening maneuver in a systematic campaign to invert the entire social hierarchy of the ancient world.
Yes, the momentum shifts immediately after this.
Yeah.
Having neutralized the trap, Jesus basically takes the offensive against the established societal structure.
We see this in the very next historical event in the text, right? Where he aggressively rebukes his own inner circle in order to bless marginalized children.
Right. He tells his disciples, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these."
Now, we have a tendency to view that moment through a highly sentimental modern lens, like, oh, how sweet.
Right. Cute kids.
But in the Greco-Roman and broader ancient world, children were not cherished the way they are today.
Not at all. I mean, due to high mortality rates and really harsh economic realities, children were viewed as socially insignificant.
They were basically nobodies.
They were essentially property, occupying the absolute bottom rung of the social ladder until they came of age. They offered no political advantage and held absolutely no economic power.
Which makes this an incredibly disruptive moment for a prominent leader, someone drawing massive crowds and navigating high-level political threats, to just stop everything and declare that the kingdom of heaven belongs to the absolute lowest members of society.
It's radical.
He is turning the social pyramid completely upside down. He protects the vulnerable women, he elevates the insignificant children, and then he turns his attention directly to the top of the pyramid, the economic elite.
Right, and this brings us to the encounter with the figure commonly known as the rich young ruler. A man of immense wealth and social standing approaches him, seeking validation.
And Jesus responds with one of the most blistering economic critiques of the era. He says, "It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for someone who is rich to enter the kingdom of God."
What's fascinating here is how this specific imagery attacks the fundamental economic theology of the first century.
How so?
Well, we have to consider the physical environment they are standing in. They are in the shadow of Herodian opulence. Herod's extravagant palaces and lifestyle were funded by a crushing system of taxation on the peasantry.
Right.
At the same time, the religious elite enjoyed a very comfortable, elevated status. In that culture, wealth was directly equated with divine favor. The underlying assumption was, if you were rich, it meant God approved of you.
So it was basically a first century prosperity gospel.
Exactly.
And Jesus takes that entire system, the Herodian opulence, the religious elite's comfort, the idea that wealth equals worth, and he just drops a wrecking ball on it with this absurd, comical image of a massive camel trying to squeeze through the microscopic eye of a needle.
It's such a stark image.
He is confronting the idolatry of wealth and systemic power head on.
He really is. He is systematically dismantling every single metric by which that ancient society measured human value. He's saying your worth is not determined by your gender, your age, or your bank account.
And it all builds to a singular, inevitable conclusion. The historical account of this chapter ends with a definitive thesis statement for everything that just happened in Perea. But many who are first will be last, and many who are last will be first.
It is a total reversal of the world order.
When you look at the sequence logically maneuvering through a deadly political trap about divorce, protecting the financial and social security of women, elevating the status of children, and publicly warning the wealthy elite, you realize he is deliberately drawing a line in the sand.
He is positioning himself in absolute opposition to both the religious legalism and the political corruption of his day. By so radically upending the social order in such a highly public forum, he is forcing the hand of the establishment.
Yeah, He has marched right into a geopolitical powder keg, lit the match by empowering the marginalized, and is now walking directly toward an inevitable explosive clash with the elite in Jerusalem.
It's a stunning piece of history when you actually look at the mechanics of what is happening.
And this is exactly why we do these deep dives. I mean, it proves that understanding history isn't just an exercise in memorizing names and dates, you know?
Yeah.
It is the ultimate antidote to information overload.
Oh, for sure.
When you understand the underlying systems, the fragile borders, the economic realities, the political traps, you don't just see a static text anymore. You see the machinery of human history working in real time.
Right. Transforms a narrative that so many people dismiss as just a simple moral fable into this vibrant, high-stakes account of power dynamics, danger, and radical societal change.
Exactly. So what does this all mean? We started today looking at a seemingly mundane legal question about marriage, and we uncovered a deadly political assassination attempt by proxy.
Yeah.
We watched a leader maneuver through a geopolitical minefield while simultaneously dismantling the patriarchal and economic hierarchy of the ancient world.
This raises an important question. Is a seemingly innocent debate about domestic law in the ancient world was actually a cover for a deadly political trap? What other simple, everyday debates in history, or even playing out in our world today, are secretly serving as cover stories?
Oh, wow.
I mean, what other casual arguments are actually masking a much deeper, much more ruthless struggle for power and survival?
That is exactly the kind of question that forces you to rethink every public debate you see playing out on the news today. The layers just keep going. All right, before we let you go, we want to hear directly from you. Drop a comment below right now and tell us what you think about the historical mechanics we unpacked today.
We'd love to read them.
Did the connection between the Pharisees' divorce trap and the border tension with the Nabateans surprise you? How does understanding the absolute financial ruin of a first-century divorce change the way you view that entire debate? Get in the comments and let us know your thoughts. And hey, if you enjoyed breaking through the glass and exploring the hidden tripwires of history in this deep dive, please hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed so you never miss out on our upcoming analyses.
Your interaction really helps us keep these deep dives coming.
It absolutely does. Also, you need to check the description below. We've put together some exclusive links down there to help you explore the geopolitical landscape of the ancient world even further. So definitely take a look at those resources. And get ready because you are not going to want to miss our next deep dive. We are taking the political tension we explored today and dialing it up to an entirely new level.
Oh, it's going to be huge.
I promise you, the next one will be even more intense as we look at the fallout of these massive societal shifts. Until then, remember that the past is never as quiet as it seems. Sometimes that dusty marble statue is actually a bomb waiting to go off. Thanks for exploring with us. See you next time.